What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of Manny's Car Vlogs. Would you mind being my co-driver for a bit? We're still on our way from Torsby to Östersund. It is now 12 o'clock and we're still in the forest. We're still in the Scandinavian forest. As far as we can see, to the horizon, boreal forests consisting of mostly pine, spruce and birch actually. The main dominating non-conifer up here seems to be birch, which is kind of interesting. It's a little bit of a difference to the non-conifer forests, the mixture forests down there in Austria and stuff like that, where we have more of, where we have more of a beech and oaks, stuff like that. Anyway, something that I didn't mention in the last car vlog is actually why we go through Sverige, Sweden. Because, as I said, primary goal is the Trondheim area, right? With all these awesome crags around it, like Hell and Flatanger and stuff like that. So, why are we going through Sverige? Norway seems to be not so big on CNG, on compressed natural gas. The most northern CNG stations that I could find in Norway via my route planners on the internet, at least, were around the Oslo area. And from the Oslo area, it is still quite a big leap up to Trondheim. It's about like 750 kilometers or something, which is more than a whole CNG tank, a full CNG tank of this car at least can take. So it would, one thing would have been certain, it would have been a one-way ticket, You can get there with one tank, but then you're there without CNG, and then you have to canister yourself along, and this is quite boring and quite time-consuming and annoying. So I thought, why not check out Sverige on the route planner, because I knew already that CNG is a little bit bigger in Sweden. It is more used there, more people use it, and consequently there are more gas stations that offer it. To a quite high price, admittedly, around 2 euros per kilogram, which is almost double as much as in Austria and Germany, for example, to give you a little bit of an impression of the costs of fuel up here. Which is kind of interesting, by the way, because they actually should have natural reserves of, natural gas themselves. I know this especially from Norway. Norway has huge reserves of natural gas, which is also what they use on their CNG stations. But despite that, CNG is not very big up there. I suppose it's because, number one, it is very cold in Norway for a very huge part of the time of the year, just as it is in Sweden, by the way. But still, in Sweden, CNG system is more developed, So I can't really take that as a logical reason there. The other thing is something that is actually quite big in Norway is electrical cars. I think I've never seen as many Teslas and electricity-powered cars before in my life than in Norway, and especially in Oslo, man. Which leads me to, more or less the topic that I would like to talk about in this car vlog. Ooh, now it starts to rain heavily again. Which is comparing Scandinavian cities to Scandinavian countryside from my experience, from my very limited experience that I have so far. I mean, I have seen Göteborg, Gothenburg to some extent, and I've seen Oslo to some extent. Both really big cities, quite major cities actually, of their corresponding countries. And man, it's fascinating to see how, especially with Oslo, it seems to increase the more you go to the north, and I think it peaks at Oslo. This is the epitome of modern city, modern city, quote unquote. Lots of glass, lots of metal, lots of concrete, man, and built in a really shiny and glamorous way. It's very polished, a lot of lights, you know. They like to light their buildings properly, so that it has kind of this artistic impression on the viewer. And it was kind of interesting to drive through the city, man. Oslo, you know. It's the major parts of the city are connected via these underground tunnels, you know, so you don't really drive on the surface anymore. They got rid of that problem already as well. You drive underground and through these really futuristic tunnels with nice lighting, with this neon lighting, and then you come out and at another place of the city, and there's these skyscrapers, you know, out of glass and metal and properly lit, and down there you have the little bars and everything where people are sitting in. And it's not like, you know, convenient bars. I mean, convenient. It's not like normal, your standard regular bar where you have a couple of windows in. No, it's like these glass facades, you know. You can basically see completely into the bar, and you can check out the people who are, you know, consuming their beers and stuff like that. And then there is not the normal advertisements anymore, which you just plaster on some kind of background. No, it's basically only digital screens anymore, you know, where the advertisement is displayed and lights everywhere. And, you know, another thing is I drove there, you know, with my caddy, with the caddy bro, who I'm so proud of because it's going so well. It has such an endurance, man. Caddy bro, you're doing great. If you want to know how I, extended this car to be able to sleep in it and stuff like that, then you can check out my video about the van to mobile home transformation. But anyway, another story. We digress. I was going to talk about Oslo and how freaking modern and progressive it is, you know, and it's kind of like you're driving through the inner city and you're almost alone there. Nobody goes there with the car anymore, and there is no parking space anyway, you know. You can't park there anymore. Everywhere there's these, you know, these stations of electrical scooters where people go and, you know, with the smartphone apps, and then they log themselves in, and then they take the electrical scooter and scoot through the city and stuff like that. It was really fun to see, man. And I was cruising there with my caddy bro, you know, CNG powered. Basically not having any idea where I'm going. I just wanted to check out the city, and I always felt the feeling of, holy shit, did I something wrong now? Because there are no cars anymore. I'm the only guy with a car here. And then you're following these roads through the inner city, and all of a sudden there is this traffic lights, and on left side of the road there's standing like 50 people or something. Left other side of the road, 50 people as well, waiting to cross the road. And they are basically just waiting for me because I'm the only car around to go by them, you know. So it's really funny to see that, how the people wait for the only car in the inner city. It felt like this anyway. The caddy bro with Manny the monkey in it, wondering about this super modern city. So yeah, I was cruising through Oslo, checking out Oslo. Super modern city, kind of beautiful in a sense, with all these modern buildings and stuff like that. But on the other hand, there's cameras everywhere. For example, the surveillance and security quote unquote of the city is just on another level, man. There's cameras everywhere, at every corner of every building, along almost at any entrance into buildings there's cameras. I mean, I went through the inner city where all the businesses are located, and it looked really prosperous and shiny and stuff, as if they would have to protect their wealth somehow with this kind of security systems. This is the feeling that I had. And then there is, you know, these glass facades everywhere. You can look into every building, and it's properly lit inside, so you really can look into it. And the same is true for the buildings where people actually live, which is something that surprised me, because the space of privacy that you have in this city, in these kind of buildings for living at least, is very, very limited. At some point I was walking on a pedestrian way and I could look to the right, could look straight into the living room of some other person with their nice little super thin flat screen, and they look at watching TV, and it really had the impression on me like this, the transparent slave, you know, the modern transparent slave, where you don't have cash anymore, you only pay with your card. The next step is gonna be you have a chip under your skin which you just hold to the cashier, and by this you pay, so that they can see at any time where you bought your stuff, what did you buy, where have you been, and all this kind of stuff. You can even just look right into their living rooms, watch what the people are watching on TV, how they are living their life, what are they eating. You can analyze all this stuff. What is their work? How much money are they earning, and all that kind of stuff, you know. So it really had the impression on me, although the city is super modern, and in that sense kind of interesting, it is at the same time a city of the transparent slave, where everything is controlled, everything is surveilled basically. And also at the same time, which I found interesting, but that's the same anyway in other cities of Europe already, especially the western ones, how much of a food desert it really is. Because as you get into these super hip and shiny districts of a city where, you know, there are these bars and then there's the big skyscrapers and stuff like that, supermarkets, and especially the more traditional ones where you would find still traditional foods, completely disappear, of course. They are being replaced by small little chains, you know, by these kind of luxury versions, the luxury chain version of a certain supermarket, where there's only a certain selection of foods which are super hip and expensive and stuff like that, where you can't really get the basics anymore and stuff. So it really also at the same time is a food desert. And I'm not sure, maybe on the outer parts of the city there's a farmer's market from time to time where people can buy local goods, like local dairy and meats and stuff like that, for example. But you know, in the inner cities it's mostly like chips and crackers and lots of plant oils, salt and sugar, essentially. Okay, so that's the impression that I had. And this was especially true for Oslo and also Gothenburg as well. Gothenburg, not to the extent of Oslo. It still felt a bit more down to earth than Oslo, but Oslo is really like, it's super, super modern and developed. I mean, if there's at any point in time a time where, you know, we are hovering around in the cities and small little hovering cars are moving around between the skyscrapers and stuff like that, then Oslo is gonna be the city where this is gonna happen first, probably. And the amount of Teslas, holy crap, man. I think there's more Teslas in Oslo than other cars. It's really insane, man. Everywhere you can charge your electrically powered car and stuff like that, you know. In that sense, the modernity is quite cool, I suppose, because at least they have a very clean air, because there's not a lot of exhaust. All the exhaust happens in some sort of tunnels anyway, and if it's on the surface, then it's mostly Teslas which have no exhaust. On the other hand, what about all the resources that go into producing a Tesla, you know? We know in the meantime that this is not as ecologically clear, you know, as it's supposed to be, as it looks like in the beginning. But anyway, that's another subject. Comparing this to the countryside of Norway and Sweden, what an incredible contrast, man. What an incredible contrast. On the countryside, people are living in their small, tiny little houses, which are mostly painted. They are either painted white, yellow, or red, I have the feeling. And these really cute little farmhouses. which they decorate in a very special way, and it gives you this Scandinavian look, this Scandinavian feeling instantly, which I really like actually. And then these vast lands, you know, the vast forests that I'm driving around here. I mean, we're recording here for 15 minutes already. You've been following me along. I think you didn't see anything else than forest whilst looking out of these windows, and it goes like this for hundreds of kilometers already. We still have 200 kilometers to go, by the way, to Östersund, where the next CNG station will hopefully reside. But anyway, countryside, vast contrast, you know, free running animals everywhere, cows, sheep, chickens as well. I suppose you can buy locally here from local farms as well. There's always these signs on the side of the road. Unfortunately, I don't understand them because I don't understand Swedish or Norwegian. But I'm pretty sure you could buy some pretty awesome high quality stuff here from animals that are, you know, grazing on free land with the greenest grass that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I thought the grass is green in Austria, you know, where where it's raining here and there and then it's sun here and there. But apparently when there is more rain, which is definitely the case around here, I have the feeling, then the grass gets even greener and thicker and fatter, you know, and this is what these animals have to graze on, and vast areas of it, man. So yeah, what a prosperous area. The countryside is really prosperous. Also the lakes, you know, lakes everywhere, people fishing there all the time. I see people, you know, in their fishing vans and stuff like that, sitting there all the time fishing. So a huge prosperity in terms of natural resources. And I think the contrast, you know, between these different worlds, it's really two different worlds. Once you enter Oslo, it literally feels like entering the Matrix, you know, entering some sort of science fiction movie where everything is modern and everything is so developed. And then you only have to drive like 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers into the wild, into the forest, and it changes completely, flips around completely. In that sense, I found Scandinavia really interesting. What a contrast, what a contrasty place. So much to see, so much to discover, what an adventure. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode of Manny's Car Vlogs. I think we're gonna make a little rest very soon. I'm getting hungry slowly. And yeah, then we reach Östersund. We're gonna reach Östersund probably around 2 o'clock or something, and then we could decide when the gas station works, and we might continue instantly into the direction of Trondheim, where the good stuff resides, where the good stuff is and waits for us, hopefully. Anyway, with these weather conditions, it's not a lot of fun anyway. But we're gonna see. See you then. Have a good one. Will we make it to Östersund? Oh my god, this is gonna be close.